Hello, Kenny Wallace here from Wallace and Wallace Healing Center, and this is Creation Counts. I'm back again with another episode, and today I want to start in our journey towards clinical aromatherapy and learning about these gifts of the earth. I want to talk about my top 10 oils, right? And so I want to start with 10 oils that I regularly go to because I think they're the ones that can be in everyone's toolkit, if you will. And the one for today is lavender. Lavender has a couple different genuses, but the one that I'm talking about is Lavandula angustifolia. And this is sourced from many different places. It's originally from over around the Middle East, but now it's cultivated all over the world, Bulgaria, France. You can even find it here in Canada. And depending on where it's grown, it changes its constituencies, right? So if it is in higher elevation, then it's going to be higher in a certain type of chemicals that we'll talk about in just a second. And so where your lavender comes from makes a huge difference in how it works in your body. And so first of all, when you think about lavender, like how do you use it? You don't just pull it out of the ground and then start like rubbing it on your skin. That's not how it works. Although there are ways that you can use lavender from herbalism. I'm going to be talking about specifically the essential oil, the essence of the oil. So what happens is they take the top flowering part of the plant, the part with those pretty purple flowers, and they steam distill it. That means they put it into a big still and force steam through the plant matter. And when that steam is cooled, what is left is a hydrolat, which is kind of the water that has collected some of those constituents. And then on top of that water is a film of essential oil. And when you siphon that off, that's what we use to for its therapeutic benefits. One of the things that happens a lot when we're talking about essential oils is that, or hydrolats or carrier oils, anything with aromatherapy, is that there's a lot of information that will say it does this, but it doesn't really explain why, right? And that's one of the huge differences with clinical aromatherapy. I can explain why. So lavender is hugely anti-inflammatory and analgesic, which means it deals with pain. It has sedative properties and it's antispasmodic. Well, why is it that it has these characteristics? Well, it's because it's high in esters. This is a category of chemical constituents that can affect your body in these particular ways, right? So esters tend to be anti-inflammatory. They bring swelling down. They tend to address the nervous system, so it helps to lessen pain. It helps to slow down your cortisol production, and so it has these sedative properties, right? And so its top amount are esters, but then right after that are alcohols. And as my professor said, this is not the alcohol that you drink to get drunk. No, this is a chemical called alcohol, or a class of chemicals called alcohols. And they tend to be antibacterial, antiviral, and balancing. And so if you think about how you can use this type of plant, this type of oil, it would be good for things like bug bites, right? That's that anti-inflammatory. Or for burns, that's the analgesic part. For dry skin, for sleep, for earaches. If you have a scrape that can be dirty, like you rinse it out and then you put some of this essential oil, always diluted. So use it diluted on there, and it will actually kill the bad stuff that's going to try to make you even more sick, right? Lavender is often described as the Swiss Army knife of essential oils because it has so many different uses across so many different categories, and that's actually pretty awesome. When it comes to the spiritual, right? Because I talked about how we use these oils to address things physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Well, you can see the emotional side in kind of calming down the anxiety uses that it can be used for. You can see the physical side, the large amount of physical help that it can be a benefit for. But how can you use it spiritually? Well, I don't work with energy healings, and so I don't usually talk about vibrational patterns and things like that, though that is out there, and it may help with that. But because I am a Christian clinical aromatherapist, right? So my other degree is in worship studies. I have a doctorate in worship studies. That's how I'm going to think through how we could use these oils. How can these oils be used in worship? And so two things with lavender is that it helps address matters of the heart. And so as soon as I read that when I was doing my research, I was like, oh, that reminds me of Jonah, right? In the story of Jonah, when he was sitting under the tree looking out over Nineveh, just having a temper tantrum because God said he was going to save them. His heart was messed up. He was angry. He was like shaking his fist at God. He could have used some lavender in that moment, right? It helps to soothe matters of the heart. It also helps in setting intentions, right? And so when I think of setting intentions, I think of your commitments, your vows to the Lord. So lavender could be used in things like commissioning services, or in prayer and sending people out different places, like missionaries and things like that, right? It's this idea of I am going to do this for the Lord, and this smell helps to cement that in my heart, in my mind. And so that's how it can be used in worship. Lavender, I love it, right? Little acetate and little and then the ways that it affects our minds and this spiritual level, it is definitely one of my top 10 oils.